This video will be a continuation of talking about the volume of a sphere. As a reminder, the volume of a sphere is calculated by the formula V equals 4/3 pi r cubed. So let's look at this example to begin. Here it says the radius of a sphere is 5. Today we're going to talk about a couple of things that are new to you. The first will be something called in terms of pi, and you may remember this from calculating the circumference and area of a circle last year. So in terms of pi is doing everything except for pi. So for this particular example, I would be plugging in 5 for my r value, so 5 cubed. And then what I'll be doing is everything except for pi. So I'm first going to cube 5, which gives me 125. And then, again, everything but pi. So I'll be taking the 4/3 and multiplying it by 25. And it's not pretty, but that's okay. So here I get 166.6 repeating, and then I'm actually going to leave the pi symbol on it. So remember, that really means that you would multiply those two things together, but you don't actually do that. So you just leave the pi symbol on it. So when I go to actually round it, which is what you did yesterday, I would take that answer that I got and actually do times 3.14 in my calculator. So when I do that, I get 523.3 repeating. So what's important to remind you of is that these two things are the same. They're just two different ways to write it. So kind of like a decimal and a fraction. 1/2 and 0.5 are the same, they just look different. Same thing goes here. So occasionally you might be asked to leave your answer in terms of pi, and remember that's everything else but not pi. We'll look at another example to help you remember this. So in terms of pi, you don't actually multiply by that 3.14. You simplify everything else and then you just leave the pi symbol at the end. Where you first saw it was when we were calculating area of a circle. So remember, area of a circle is just pi r squared. So if I was finding the area of this in terms of pi, here my radius is 4, which is equal to 16. So my answer would be 16 pi meters squared. So I did everything but the pi. I did 4 squared and then I just left the pi symbol on it. Okay, so now we're talking volume, which is a little more complex. That's 4/3 pi r cubed. So here if I have the diameter of 12, remember that means the radius would only be 6. So for this example, I would be doing 4/3 pi times 6 cubed. So I'd want to figure out what is 6 cubed, which is 216. And then I'd want to take this 4/3 and multiply it by 216. This one's much better. You get 288 pi. And technically it would be units cubed. So this is a good example of why you would want to leave it in terms of pi, because normally when you would do that is when you would want to avoid any sort of decimal, because you know multiplying something by pi, odds are you'll get a decimal at the end. So for this example, it's nice because you kind of avoid those in your answer. Okay, so today you'll be practicing on leaving it in terms of pi. The other new thing you'll be working on today is working backwards with spheres, and we've done this with cylinders and cones, so hopefully you're getting the hang of it. Here it says a sphere has a volume of 3052.08 cubic centimeters. Find the radius of the sphere, use 3.14 for pi. So just like with the last examples of working backwards when we were doing cones and cylinders, a good place to start is your formula. So 4/3 pi r cubed. From there, what you're going to do is fill in the information that you know. So here, I know my volume. So instead of V, I'm going to substitute in that value. And then it also says to use 3.14 for pi, so I'll make that substitution as well. and I still don't know my r cubed. So here you have a couple of options. The goal is to get r by itself. So if you wanted to, you could actually multiply these together first, or the way that I'm going to show you is to take it in pieces. So the first thing I'm going to do is divide by 3.14. Let's get rid of that pi first. So taking 3052.08 and dividing by 3.14 gets me 972. So 972 is equal to 4/3 times r cubed. Well, the next thing I want to get rid of is that 4/3. So I'm going to divide by 4/3 on each side. And that gets me 729. So I know that 729 is equal to cubing r. So the inverse of that would be to cube root. It's been a while since we've done that. So remember, on your calculator, you would type 3 second and then x squared to get that cubed. Nope, not x squared, goodness. The caret button. So 3 second caret will get you cubed root, and then whatever value you're taking. So 3 second caret 729 tells me that my radius here would be 9 centimeters. Okay, so start with your formula, plug in what you know, and then just solve like an equation. So keep using inverses until you get that variable by itself. Let's look at one more. So here it says a sphere has a volume of 288 pi inches cubed. Find the radius of the sphere. Something important to note is that this volume that it gives me is in terms of pi. So we'll look at how that impacts our solving. I'm going to start the same way by writing in the formula. So V equals 4/3 pi r cubed. Next, I'm going to fill in the information that I know. So it says this is my volume, so 288 pi. Now it doesn't say anything about use 3.14, so I'm actually going to leave the pi symbol there, and we'll talk about how to get rid of it right now. So even when it's written as that symbol, it still represents a number. So I'm going to divide by pi on both sides to get rid of it. But I'm not going to grab my calculator. When I see this of pi over pi, those are just going to cancel. So without even needing a calculator, I can just immediately cancel them out. Now you'll notice, since the volume was given to me in terms of pi, I have the same thing happening over here, which means that that's also going to cancel. So already I've gotten rid of the pi's on both sides, and I'm left with 288 is equal to 4/3 r cubed. So the pi's just cancel when it's in terms of pi. From there, I'd want to now get rid of the 4/3, so I'd divide both sides by 4/3. And let's see what 288 divided by 4/3 is. That gets me 216 is r cubed. So I'm going to cubed root both sides. Again, that's 3 second caret key. So 3 second caret 216. And that tells me that my radius for this example would be 6. Okay, so you had two examples of working backwards. One was in terms of pi, and we saw that the pi's just canceled. When it's not in terms of pi, you'd actually want to grab that calculator and do divided by 3.14 on both sides. So today's new material was in terms of pi and working backwards. Let me know if you have any questions.